The mockery. The Galactic Council chamber was a place of shining glass and endless light. Thousands of alien voices echoed across the room, each one sharp and full of pride. It was the heart of politics in the galaxy, where empires came to boast, to argue and to laugh. When the human ambassador entered, many turned their heads, some curious, most amused. He was small compared to the towering insectoid leaders, thin compared to the scaled reptilian warriors, and fragile compared to the armored avian clans. His black Terran suit looked plain, almost weak, against the flowing robes and glowing armor of the other species. Whispers rose at once, as if the whole chamber had decided together. This is going to be entertaining. The ambassador walked with calm steps, his eyes steady, his face showing no fear. He carried no guards, no weapons, no shimmering crown of power. He carried only a small datapad and the weight of his people's hope. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect learned from centuries of human diplomacy, and then he spoke. Esteemed Council, I come today not with demands, but with a request for peace. His voice was calm, steady, and firm. We seek fair trade, open borders, and respect for Terran space, nothing more, nothing less. For a second, the chamber was quiet, but only for a second. Then came the sound, low at first, then growing louder. Laughter. The insectoid delegates clattered their mandibles, clicking. In sharp rhythm, the reptilians slapped their scaled tails on the ground, a gesture of mockery. The avians screeched, their laughter cutting like broken glass. One delegate leaned forward and shouted, "Peace? From Earth? A planet barely crawling from its cradle?" More laughter followed, louder this time. The human ambassador stood still, not moving, not shaking, only watching. He let them laugh, let them point, let them spit words of insult. "Primitive," said one. "Foolish," said another. "Arrogant little mammals," whispered a third. A tall reptilian rose to his feet, his voice booming. "You speak of respect, yet your kind has no fleets worth naming, no weapons worth fearing, no history worth remembering. Earth is a backwater world, weak and soft. What do you offer the galaxy but your begging words?" The chamber roared again with cruel laughter. The ambassador tapped his datapad once, letting the sound fade on its own. He looked at them all, one by one, his voice quiet but strong. "Do not mistake patience for weakness," he said. "Do not mistake kindness for lack of strength." The laughter stumbled for a moment, some shifted uneasily, but most waved him away. "Empty words," shouted an avian. "Your ships are toys," hissed an insectoid. The ambassador nodded slowly, his calm never breaking. "If you cannot respect our voice, then perhaps you will one day respect our silence," he said. He turned to leave, his footsteps echoing softly against the shining floor. The chamber still buzzed with laughter, though some began to whisper with unease. Something in his voice, something in his eyes, felt different. It was not the voice of a begging man, but the warning of a storm. As the doors closed behind him, his final words lingered in the chamber like a shadow. "When you see the shadow of our steel, remember this day." The aliens laughed again, louder than before, trying to bury the chill in their hearts. But deep within the chamber, among the sea of mocking voices, one or two delegates remained silent. They remembered old reports, whispers of Terran wars fought long before Earth had joined the stars. Whispers of battles where humans had stood against impossible odds and had not only survived but had won. The insectoids clicked their laughter, the reptiles hissed with scorn, the avians shrieked with mockery, but those few who stayed silent felt something heavy settle in their chest. They could not name it, but it was there, not fear yet, not respect yet, but the first taste of both. And as the human ambassador stepped out into the cold corridors of the council station, his calm face finally hardened. Earth had tried diplomacy. Earth had asked with respect. Earth had given them a chance. Now Earth would prepare something else, something greater. The galaxy had laughed, but soon the galaxy would learn. The Terran people had been patient long enough. Shadows over the stars. The galaxy never moved slowly. News traveled faster than ships. faster than weapons, faster than light, and the news of Earth's humiliation at the Council spread like wildfire across the stars. Every outpost, every trading hub, every colony heard the story. They came asking for peace, the rumors said, and the galaxy laughed at them. Merchants joked about it in smoke-filled bars, soldiers laughed at it in noisy barracks. Even children on distant worlds repeated the tale. Humans, the weak, the naive, the foolish. They had stepped into the great hall of power only to be turned into a joke. But not every voice joined the laughter. In quiet corners of the galaxy, old records were whispered about. The Terran wars of the past, wars fought before humanity had even touched the stars. Wars where humans had stood against impossible enemies and refused to fall. Wars where cities had been turned to ashes, yet humans had risen again, harder, stronger. Those who knew history remembered, and they did not laugh. Far away, on the edge of mapped space, a scout ship drifted among dying suns. Its alien crew scanned the dark void, searching for smuggling routes. Their sensors caught something, a shadow where no planet should be. At first they thought it was a mistake, a sensor glitch. But then the shadow moved, slow, heavy, deliberate. They focused their scanners, trying to measure it. The numbers came back impossible. The object was larger than any known ship, larger than most stations. It swallowed the stars behind it, a mountain of steel in the endless night. The crew panicked, sending data bursts back to their homeworld. The shadow kept moving, not fast, not rushed, but with purpose. Its shape was angular, its edges sharp, its surface cold and black. And though it fired no weapons, though it made no sound, its very presence felt like a threat. It was not a fleet, not an empire show of power. It was one ship, one alone. And it was enough to send fear through the hearts of every alien who saw it. Back in the Galactic Council, whispers began to rise again. Reports of a massive, unidentified object moving near the central routes. Delegates dismissed it at first, saying it was an exaggeration. But then came more reports. Mining colonies had spotted it, research stations had recorded it, and every description was the same. A giant Terran ship moving in silence. The same delegates who had laughed days ago now grew restless. The insectoids clicked nervously. The reptilians hissed in hushed tones. The avians stretched their wings uneasily. Something was wrong. This was not the behavior of a weak world. The human ambassador had returned to Earth, his message delivered. He spoke in quiet rooms filled with Terran leaders. They laughed at us. They mocked our voice. Now they will see another side of us, he said. Around him sat admirals, generals, scientists, and engineers. They all knew what he meant. For years, Earth had been building in secret. Not fleets of fragile cruisers, not squadrons of small fighters, but something else. Something older, something stronger. Something meant to remind the galaxy that humans did not beg. They endured. And when endurance was not enough, they fought. And so the great shadow kept moving across the stars. It crossed sectors without asking permission. It ignored patrols and outposts. No one dared to stop it. No one dared to even get close. It was not a warship built to fight battles. It was a warship built to end wars before they began. On one trading world, merchants watched as the shadow passed far above, blotting out the suns. Children stopped playing, staring at the sky in silence. Old veterans who had once laughed now whispered, "Terran steel," they said. "It has returned." The galaxy, once so loud with mockery, grew quieter with every sighting. The laughter turned to unease. The unease turned to whispers. And soon the whispers turned into fear. For the shadow that moved among the stars was not a ghost. It was real, it was alive, and it carried the wrath of a species that had been mocked for the last time. The arrival, the Galactic Council's homeworld, was never silent. It was a planet of endless light, with sky towers reaching into the clouds and ships rising like sparks from its surface. Delegates came and went, their fleets swarming the orbit like bees around a hive. It was the heart of galactic power, and nothing had ever shaken it, until the shadow came. It did not arrive with noise. No alarms, No blinding flash of engines. It simply appeared on the edge of the system. The first patrol ships rushed to intercept, their commanders sending sharp warnings. But as they drew close, their warnings turned to silence. The patrols veered away, their signals cut short, not because of an attack, but because of what they saw. The Terran battleship entered the system like a mountain drifting through the void. Its hull was black steel, swallowing light instead of reflecting it. Its size dwarfed every ship in orbit, its silhouette casting shadows across the planet below. It did not fire, it did not threaten, it only moved forward. Slow, steady, unstoppable. From the surface, citizens looked up and gasped as the suns dimmed. Children pointed at the sky where the giant shape stretched across the horizon. Some thought it was a station falling from orbit. Others whispered that it was a weapon large enough to break worlds. Inside the council chamber, the laughter that had once filled the halls was gone. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices sharp with fear. "The humans dare!" cried an avian leader. "They will be destroyed," hissed a reptilian. But none of them dared leave their seats. Their eyes stayed fixed on the giant screens, showing the battleship as it drifted closer. Then the council doors opened. The human ambassador stepped inside again, walking with the same calm steps as before. No guards, no crown, no weapons, only his quiet presence. The chamber went silent. The only sound was the deep hum of the Terran warship above. The ambassador stood in the center, his voice calm. "Esteemed council, you laughed at our words," he said. "You dismissed our request for peace. You mocked our patience. You mocked our hope." He raised his hand toward the screen where the warship loomed. "Now you will see the strength behind those words." The alien leaders stared, their eyes wide, their voices trapped in their throats. The insectoid delegate clicked nervously. "That ship, it cannot exist," the reptilian commander whispered. "No empire could build such a thing." But the ship was there, silent, waiting. Its weapons glowed faintly along its hull, each one the size of a city. Its shields rippled with energy, like waves across an endless sea. The ambassador's gaze moved from one delegate to the next. "We came here asking for respect. You gave us only laughter. We will not ask again." The silence was heavy, pressing down on every heart. Some delegates began to tremble. Others could not look at the screens. Then the battleship moved, not to fire, not to strike, but to simply turn. As it rotated, its shadow swept across the entire planet below, plunging cities into momentary darkness. Billions of citizens looked up at the sky, their world swallowed by Terran steel. No weapon was fired, but no weapon needed to be fired. The ambassador lowered his hand. "This is only one ship," he said quietly. "There are more." The words struck the council like thunder. If one ship could silence the galaxy, what could a fleet do? The laughter that had once mocked Earth was now gone, replaced with fear, and in that fear grew something else, something none of them had expected to feel. Respect. As the ambassador stood in silence, the battleship above waited. It did not fire. It did not conquer. It simply reminded the galaxy of one truth. Humanity had asked for peace, but it had never been weak. And now the stars themselves trembled under the weight of Terran steel, fear in the council. The council chamber was silent. For the first time in its long history, the voices of hundreds of empires had no words. Every eye was fixed on the glowing screens above where the Terran battleship hovered in orbit. Its steel skin reflected nothing. Its shape was so vast that even the great planetary shields of the council world seemed like toys beside it. The delegates shifted nervously, their robes and armor rustling in the heavy silence. The insectoids tapped their mandibles but spoke nothing. The reptilians' tails curled tightly around their chairs. The avians' wings folded against their backs. All of them could feel it, a weight pressing on their chests, a presence that could not be ignored. The human ambassador raised his datapad and placed it on the podium. His voice was calm, steady, almost quiet. "We asked for respect. You gave us mockery. Now you will listen." He tapped the pad, and new images appeared on the screens. Blueprints of the Terran warship, Lines of data scrolling down, railguns longer than towers, energy cannons brighter than suns, drones orbiting like steel moons. The alien delegates leaned forward, their eyes wide, their throats dry. "This ship does not come here for war," the ambassador said. "It comes to remind you, humanity will not be ignored. Humanity will not be insulted. Humanity will not be mocked." One avian screeched suddenly, his voice sharp and desperate. "You threaten the council itself. You dare place your weapons above us. You dare show violence in the heart of peace." His words echoed across the chamber, but his feathers shook with fear. The human ambassador turned to him slowly, his calm never broken. "Peace is only real when both sides respect it," he said. At that moment, the warship above shifted. Its weapons glowed brighter, a low hum rolling across the planet. Then one cannon fired, not at the city, not at the planet, but at the nearby moon. The beam of energy tore through the black sky like a river of light. The moon cracked, split, shattered into fragments that drifted into orbit, glowing red like embers. The entire chamber shook with the sound of the moon breaking, even though it was silent in the void. The shockwaves reached deep into every heart. Delegates gasped, some screamed, some fell silent with terror. For thousands of years the Council had ruled the galaxy, yet none of their fleets had ever shown such power, and this was only one Terran ship. The ambassador let the silence hang, his words cutting into their fear. "That was a warning, One Moon, broken into dust. Humanity has more power than you think. This is what patience looks like when it ends." The reptilian leader rose, his scales trembling. "This is madness. You will bring chaos to the galaxy. You will enslave us all." The ambassador looked at him, his eyes cold. "No," he said. "We do not seek slaves. We seek respect. Refuse us, and we will return with more ships. Refuse us, and your empires will see not laughter, but silence." The avian who had spoken before lowered his wings. Unable to meet the human's gaze, the insectoids clattered nervously, whispering in their clicking tongues. Even the strongest delegates, those who had mocked humanity the loudest, now avoided looking at the ambassador. For the first time in galactic history, fear did not come from within their council. It came from one world, one species, one warship that had the power to shake the stars. The ambassador stepped back from the podium. "You asked what Earth could offer the galaxy," he said softly. "Here is your answer. We offer peace or we offer silence. The choice is yours." Above them, the warship floated in silence, its shadow stretching across the skies of the Council world. The broken fragments of the moon drifted in orbit, glowing red against the black void. Every citizen on the planet looked up in awe, their laughter gone, their voices quiet. The galaxy had mocked humanity's diplomacy, but now it trembled before humanity's strength. And in that trembling silence, a new truth was born. The galaxy had learned fear, and with fear came respect. The turning point. The shattered moon still burned in the skies above the Council world. Its glowing fragments drifted like fire across the void, each piece a reminder of Terran power. Every eye in the galaxy had seen it, for the warship's display was broadcast across countless worlds. Billions watched in silence, their laughter gone, their pride cracked, their certainty destroyed. Inside the council chamber, no one spoke for a long moment. The delegates sat frozen, their throats dry, their voices caught. The reptilians' tails no longer lashed, the avians' wings no longer spread. The insectoids' mandibles clicked nervously but without rhythm. Fear had chained them all. The human ambassador stood calm in the center, his suit plain, his figure small, but his words carried the weight of the battleship above. "Humanity does not wish to destroy you," he said slowly. "Humanity does not wish to rule you. Humanity wishes for one thing. Respect." The insectoid leader rose, his mandibles trembling. You destroyed a moon as if it were nothing," he said. "That was not war, that was demonstration." His words faltered as he looked at the human. "What happens if we refuse your terms?" he asked. The ambassador's eyes did not blink. His voice never shook. "Then more moons will fall, more stars will dim, more empires will learn silence." The chamber grew heavy, a weight pressing on every chest. One avian delegate finally spoke, his voice a whisper. "What is it you demand?" The ambassador placed his datapad back on the podium. It lit up with the new treaty, written in clear, simple lines. No fleets may cross into Terran space without permission. No empire may mock or insult Terran representatives. Trade shall be equal, fair, and without exploitation, and above all, Earth shall be treated as an equal power in this galaxy. The reptilian slammed his claws against the table. "You dare dictate terms to the Council," he hissed, his scales shining with rage. "You are one world, one species. You cannot stand against all of us." But his words were weak, his rage hollow. For above them the Terran warship still loomed, silent, watching, powerful. The ambassador's reply was simple. "You think this is one ship," he said. "Then you understand nothing. This is only a voice, a messenger. Humanity has more. Humanity has always prepared. Humanity has always endured." The chamber trembled, not from the warship's guns, but from the weight of his words. 1,000 years of council power now felt small before a single Terran shadow. The reptilian lowered his head, unable to meet the human's eyes. The insectoids whispered among themselves, clicking in fear. The avians tucked their wings close, their feathers shaking. And slowly, one by one, the delegates began to realize the truth. They could no longer laugh at humanity. They could no longer ignore humanity. They could no longer deny humanity. Some still burned with anger, but even their anger hid fear. Others began to whisper of opportunity. For if humanity was this strong, perhaps alliance was wiser than defiance. The galaxy's balance had shifted, and no empire could pretend otherwise. The ambassador's voice cut through the silence once more. "Sign this treaty, accept peace, and humanity will stand as your ally. Refuse, and humanity will stand as your end." Outside, the warship turned slowly in orbit, its cannons glowing faintly as if reminding the galaxy that its patience had limits. Citizens below watched in silence, their laughter gone, their hearts filled with awe and dread. They had mocked humanity, but now they whispered prayers to it. In that moment, the galaxy reached its turning point. For the first time in history, the Council understood that humanity's place was not at the edge of the stars. It was at the center, beside them, above them, or against them. The choice was no longer the Council's, the choice belonged to Earth. And as the treaty hovered in the chamber's light, one truth settled into every heart. The galaxy had mocked humanity's diplomacy, but now humanity would decide the terms of peace. Humanity's wrath. The treaty hung in the air of the council chamber, glowing on every screen. Delegates stared at it, their claws, wings, and hands frozen above the signing pads. Some trembled with anger, others with fear, but none could deny the shadow above them. The Terran warship, silent and unmoving, still cast its darkness over the planet. Whispers spread across the chamber like smoke. "If this is one ship, what else do they hide?" asked an insectoid. "No species build such power without building more," hissed a reptilian. "Maybe Earth is not weak, maybe Earth has always been waiting," whispered an avian. The ambassador watched them, his eyes calm, his voice sharp. "You think this ship is alone? You think humanity placed all its strength in one vessel? You are wrong." He tapped his datapad, and the screen shifted again. Not blueprints this time, not threats, but images. Grainy photographs from deep space. Signals captured from the dark edges of the galaxy. The screens showed giant silhouettes drifting through nebulae. Massive hulls half hidden behind clouds of stars. Rows of cannons shining faintly against the void, drones swarming like flocks of steel birds. Not one ship, not two, but fleets. The chamber shook with gasps. Some voices rose in panic. "This is deception," shouted a delegate. But his voice cracked. His eyes betrayed his fear. For even if the images were not clear, the scale was undeniable. Humanity had not shown its full hand. The warship above was only the beginning. The ambassador spoke again, his voice low but heavy. For centuries, humanity fought wars on its own soil, against itself, against invaders, against extinction. We learned to build weapons not to conquer but to survive. When the stars opened to us, we did not trust the laughter of strangers. We prepared, quietly, patiently. Now you see a fraction of what we built. The avian leader's feathers flared, with fear. If this is true, then Earth can destroy us all, he said. The ambassador met his gaze. Earth does not seek destruction, but do not mistake mercy for weakness. If you cross Terran space, you will face fleets like this. If you harm Terran people, you will learn what wrath truly means. Silence returned, heavier than before. The reptilian, who had mocked humanity, the loudest, now lowered his head. His tail no longer whipped the floor, his claws no longer tapped with arrogance. He whispered to himself. They were never weak, we were blind. Far beyond the chamber, across the galaxy, the same whispers spread. Spies who tried to follow Terran ships vanished without a trace. Fleets that drifted too close to Terran borders returned damaged or not at all. And those who saw the shadows in deep space swore they had counted more than a dozen colossal warships, perhaps more than 100. Citizens across countless worlds who once laughed at Earth now spoke of it in hushed tones, some with fear, others with hope. For many oppressed colonies, humanity was no longer a joke. It was a shield, a power that might one day stand against the cruelty of ancient empires. For the proud and arrogant rulers, however, it was something else, a nightmare rising from the shadows. Back in the council chamber, the ambassador gave his final words. You mocked us once. That mistake will never be made again. Remember this day. Remember the shadow that silenced your laughter, for this is humanity's wrath, patient, unbroken, and eternal. Above them, the Terran warship's engines flared. It did not fire, it did not conquer, it only moved. Its shadow swept across the planet once more, reminding all who watched that Earth now stood above them, and in that silence the galaxy changed forever. Respect earned. The council chamber felt smaller than ever. The delegates who once mocked humanity now sat frozen, their voices quiet, their pride broken. Above them, the Terran battleship still hung in orbit, its shadow stretching across the skies, its presence heavy as a mountain, and in every heart fear had finally turned into something else, respect. The human ambassador stood tall in the center of the chamber, his figure plain but his words sharp as steel. The galaxy has seen our patience, the galaxy has seen our strength, now the galaxy will see our peace. He raised the datapad once, more the treaty glowing across the walls one by one. The delegates leaned forward, their claws, wings, and hands pressing against the signing pads. The insectoids clicked nervously but signed. The reptilians hissed low but signed. The avians kept their wings tight against their bodies as they too signed. No one dared refuse. No one dared speak against the shadow above. As the last signature glowed, the ambassador gave a small nod. From this day, Terran space will be respected. Earth will not beg, Earth will not plead, Earth will stand as an equal among the stars. His words carried across the chamber like a verdict, unshakable and final. In the streets below, billions of citizens looked up at the sky where the great warship moved slowly across the horizon. Children clung to their parents, merchants closed their stalls, soldiers lowered their weapons. They had all heard the stories of laughter, but now they lived in silence under Terran steel. No weapons had fallen on their cities, no bombs had burned their homes, but still they knew their world would never forget this day. Back in the chamber, the ambassador turned and walked toward the great doors. His footsteps echoed softly against the shining floor. He did not smile. He did not gloat. He simply carried the weight of his people's will. As he reached the threshold, he spoke his final words. You mocked humanity's diplomacy once. You will never mock it again. The doors closed behind him, leaving the chamber heavy with silence. And in that silence, empires that had lasted thousands of years felt themselves bend, not to destruction, but to respect, above. The Terran battleship began to turn, its cannons dimmed, its engines glowing with cold fire. It drifted slowly away like a titan returning to the shadows, yet its presence remained, its memory carved deep into the stars. Rumors spread across the galaxy like sparks. Some said humanity had 100 ships like this, hidden in dark sectors. Others swore there were thousands, fleets waiting beyond nebulae and black holes. No one knew the truth, and no one dared to find out. Because for the first time, the galaxy understood a simple truth. Humans did not need to prove their power twice. In the weeks that followed, alien fleets gave Terran borders wide space. Traders who once cheated Earth's merchants now spoke with careful respect. Spies who once mocked Terran defenses disappeared in the dark and never returned. And colonies that once feared humanity now whispered a new word for them. Not weak, not foolish, not primitive, equal. The galaxy had laughed once, but laughter could not erase what they had seen. The broken moon still drifted as a scar across the sky, a reminder written in stone, and every time a delegate looked up, they remembered the warning. Peace or silence. The Terran battleship had not fired on a city, had not destroyed a fleet, yet it had done something greater. It had forced the galaxy to see humanity as more than a fragile world. It had forced them to see Earth as a power that could no longer be denied. And so the story of the day spread, across every system, across every colony, whispered in fear and awe. They mocked humanity's diplomacy, they said. Then a Terran warship shook the stars. From that day forward, no one in the galaxy ever laughed at humanity again.